Hey folks, happy May 8th. Why do I say happy May 8th? I don't know. I don't know how we even got here. How did this even happen? We're crawling to the middle of the year. I'm speaking with Julia Chisolm. She is from the Boston area, has been playing piano, drums, bass guitar since she was 8 years old, taught herself pretty much, had a lot of early influences as she was growing up, but more recent influences, Alicia Keys, Mariah Carey, Adele. Julia also worked for Carnival Cruise Lines for 2 years, and she came off of that, has been saving up enough cash to put together an EP, which has a lot of great songs on it. One's called Falling Back, another one's called Inside. Butterflies Lie, which is the title of that. So check that out whenever you can and enjoy our talk. How are you doing this morning and where are you at? I always start with that, where you are having the Zoom chat from.
I'm in Boston.
Where are you at in Boston?
I'm right in the city. I'm in Brighton. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really neat. My daughter lived there for about 3 years. She's in New Jersey right now. So I visited Boston twice during the pandemic.
Okay.
I loved it. I totally had Logan Airport to myself.
I bet.
Great. Oh my gosh. I really, really enjoyed that. And one of the times she was living in Waltham, one of the times, and another time I went and visited in Belmont,
Okay.
which is near the Alewife train station.
Yeah,
I really liked that area, but it was pricey.
definitely. Definitely expensive. But
Yeah. Cost a lot to be on the train system there, I'm sure. But this is so cool. You could just walk to it, no car whatsoever.
yeah, you definitely pay a price, but it is a pretty city.
Yeah. I'm into running, so I there's a nice trail system there. And I ran over to Somerville, which is really cool. I like that little downtown area.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boston's cool. So did you grow up in that area?
Um, I grew up in a suburb outside of the city. So Boston born and raised, I guess. Yeah.
Cool. So when did you get into music?
Um, I've honestly always been singing per se. But professionally, it was like after college. Like I did musical theater growing up. And when I went off to college, I kind of thought I was going to eventually settle into the normal 9 to 5 because that's what the parents wanted. Um, but out of college, I couldn't find a job and I got a job with Carnival Cruise Line. And that kind of re-sparked music back into my life. And ever since then, I've kind of been pursuing it professionally.
Yeah, so you knew since you were about 8, and how did you teach yourself some instruments? Did you take lessons?
Um, yeah, I started, my first instrument was the violin, which I played, I think I was third grade. So was that in eighth? But yeah, so violin was my first instrument. And then I kind of, practice was not an easy thing for me. So I get very bored very easily. Uh,
Yeah.
so I moved on from that to piano um, and did classical piano, which I despised.
Doesn't everybody? Yeah.
Now I like regret it. Now I'm like, I wish I had put in the time and the work. But when you're younger, you don't really put as
Yeah.
much emphasis on those things. Um, so then I took a break from piano for a little bit. Then my mom put me in half voice lessons and half piano. Um, and they taught me songs that I knew. So like she gave me a book that was all top 40. So I had Alicia Keys, Nora Jones, and like that was
Oh.
the thing that clicked and it made sense. I was like, okay, so I can do things that like I like. This now makes more sense.
Yeah. Isn't Alicia Keys amazing? It's just yeah, and for being a guy and being like a dad at the time, I was like when she started hitting with her albums, I was like, oh, but I just this voice in the piano and I just loved it. And my day job, I work at Cable News Network that's based here in Atlanta. And I did a feature on Alicia Keys and her work over in Africa. And I was just like, oh, this is such a great assignment. I really enjoy it. So yeah, it's great to see, that you have these mentors and something to look up to and connect with. So yeah, that's learning the piano. It's just got to be really, really intense.
It has been more gradual, honestly, for me because I learned it growing up. And then as I've been doing it professionally, you learn and you just get comfortable. Like you don't feel like it's practice. But every time I perform, I'm learning something new on my own. And so the lessons and the things that I've taught myself, I think I learned more from actual life experience versus like being in a class and sitting down and being taught. Um,
Yeah, it's so good to be a self-learner though. That's got to be really incredible.
it adds more value to it, I guess, because you're like, okay, so I did this myself. Like I've kind of picked bits and pieces and made sense of it. Um, like I said before, though, I do kind of miss and regret that I didn't put more emphasis on like the music theory and the learning the why behind it. But in the end, if you're creating good music and you love it, does it really ever matter? You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, it's just yeah, and seeing what I see on your YouTube channel, how can we find you on your YouTube channel?
yeah, so my YouTube, I don't know the exact link, and I need to update it. I haven't put any new stuff out there,
We can go to
but
your
you can
main
just
website. Is that and we can go to your main website. And I noticed there was a link there, and I was able to see your YouTube channel.
yeah. So my website is my name juliachisholmmusic.com,
Yeah.
and then that all of my stuff, a bunch of videos. I'm hopefully within the next month or two coming out with some new music myself,
Mm-hmm.
um, and kind of hunkering down for the last few years, like working on new songs. And I have yet to put anything out, but I'm very excited to kind of finish that all up and share it with you.
And you've been saving a bit just to record an EP.
Yeah.
And how long did
Yes.
it take to save up to do that?
Um, I mean, I've done it in like bits and pieces and installments. And then I have some friends that have kind of helped me out along the way, which has been very beneficial. Um, but yeah, it's been honestly, I'd say like 4 or 5 years of me just kind of writing. Um, and as a songwriter, that's very new to me because I always was just like, I'm a performer, I'm a singer.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought of myself as a songwriter. Um, so there are songs that I wrote and recorded that I doubt anyone will ever hear because I've like grown and learned how I want to sound, what I want to write about. Uh, so that's why I've held on to the music for so long. But I think it's right. It's the right time, and this is the year. So,
Good. Good. How many songs are on this EP?
so there's 7. I'll probably be releasing them like a single at a time. Um, but I do want to, because I perform like 6 nights a week typically.
Yeah, you are a
Um,
serious
I do
performer.
want to.
You're out there.
Oh yes, I never stop.
Yeah.
Do want to put together a CD and like be able to sell that to people that come to the shows, and make it kind of like a special thing. If you show up, if you're there, you can buy one. Um, but I think one song at a time will be the route, and then eventually it'll be all out there.
Yeah, I think that's how you have to go about it these days, when it comes to affordability. Where are you recording? Since it's so expensive to rent studio space, are you doing this completely on your own, or do you know some people that you can get together with and use their studio?
Yeah. I've recorded in a few different places. I actually most recently recorded over in the Dominican.
Oh, wow.
But that was one of my friends, he's over there. Um, so I went there, recorded a few songs. Um, Most of the music I recorded has been here with another friend. Um, and then some stuff out in LA. But I've
Hmm.
kind of,
Hmm.
like I said, I rely on the people that I know and the people that I've been introduced to, and they kind of help because I'm not as well versed in the musical recording.
Sure, sure. You're the artist and you're a self-teacher with all the instruments. So that's, you got to trust, and it's a team effort, and get the right with the proper engineers, get a good sound out of what you're doing. That's
Exactly.
fantastic. Yeah. So you also know drums? Did you teach yourself a little bit of that?
Yeah, so one of the jobs that I got after working on the cruise ship, um, it was a dueling piano bar called Howl at the Moon. Um, it's like a franchise, so there's a few different locations all around the country, and they kind of throw you into it. And you obviously for the most part you're singing and playing the piano, um, but you have to learn a little bit of drums, a little bit of the bass. I definitely am not. I would never call myself a drummer or a bassist, but I know enough to kind of pass, right? But the drums became like one of my like favorite instruments, just because it was so freeing and there was
Yeah, yeah,
no boundaries, So I felt
yeah.
like I can do this. This is cool. So it was a good time. So I play a little drums.
I again, I'm just like, multi-instrumentalists. It's fascinating. People who can play all those roles and obviously be stronger in one or the other. So, I always say kudos to you for that kind of thing. So, being in New England, what type of venues have you been playing in since you're
uh,
doing the 6 nights?
yeah, so essentially anywhere and everywhere. I have my own setup, so I can do private parties in people's houses, I do weddings, I play different restaurants and bars, um, and then a few piano bars. So there's one up in Maine that I play. I'll actually be there tonight. Um, so I play anywhere the people want. Where it
Yeah.
takes me.
How's the response? You get a different feel in the different venues, and the people responding to different types of songs that you do, and obviously you probably got a lot of covers versus your originals.
Yeah. Um, every venue is unique, like 100%. Um, the venue that I'm playing tonight is one of the best spaces I've played in. Um, it's very small. Like I said, it's a piano bar, but people sit around the piano. It's super intimate. You, one of the guests actually, she sent me a message like a few weeks ago and was like, "You create something very special when a room full of strangers can kind of come together and through your music just become like a family." And it is one of those spaces that you just kind of walk into and it's like so powerful. Everyone's singing, laughing, like dancing, having a great time. And not every show is like that. So that this venue to me is extremely personal, and I could be in the worst mood possible, and I always walk out of there like a better person with a smile on my face. So it's very
Yeah.
cool.
Seems like you have the kind of the slogan that you want to create art without any hype, and you want people to get to know your story. How do you go about doing that when you're performing?
I think it's not even just like I want people to know my story. I want people to open up themselves. Like I try to make it an experience. I don't want to just play songs at people. Like I take requests. Like I want, what's your favorite song? Like
Hmm.
tell like how you want to be involved with it, because it
Yeah.
is a group experience, and I want you to walk away feeling something different that when you walk into the room, you know, like learning something yourself as well as me. So it's a joint experience.
Yeah. So you could play pretty much anything somebody comes in with a request. Can you figure it out? Do you have to bring it up on your computer to obviously get the music and the lyrics down, or how does that work for you? Because obviously you wouldn't know 3,000 songs in your head.
Right. I do know a lot, definitely. I've acquired a very vast repertoire over my years of playing. But for the most part, people come up with the same kind of requests. But if they request something that I'm like, I might know, I'll listen to it. Like I've literally listened to it in front of people and I've done my best version of it.
Hmm.
It's not my favorite thing to do because I'm a performer first, and I'm not going to perform at the best if I'm just listening to it. Um, but again, I do it for the takeaway. Like sometimes it's someone's wedding song. So
Yeah.
if it means something to you, I'm gonna try my very best. And I always preface it. I'm like, never heard this before. Like, don't judge me. I'm gonna do my best. And people are always like ecstatic and super happy. So that's why I do it, and that's what I get out of it. It's just like you see people cry, laugh, and so it's always worth it.
Do you play weddings? Do you have a lot of different type of events that you go to? Besides weddings, what other type of occasions do people hire you for?
Yeah, so weddings, company parties, um, corporate events, birthday parties. Um, Sometimes just like at their restaurant, they just want to do a solo show or a dueling piano show. Uh, so whatever it may be, I've actually played a few RV parks or
There
like
you go.
up in like New Hampshire and stuff. Um, yeah, I kind of done it all. I played a few casinos. So
Yeah, that's with money, huh?
yeah,
Casinos. Yeah, I'm sure. You're the one who walks away with money while a lot of people lose it, I'm sure. Yeah, I think, if I was to tell anybody, yeah, go into music, yeah, look at the casinos. That's definitely, even legacy artists play the huge casino venues, I'm sure. Yeah, money has got to be really good. No doubt. So for your originals, how do you go about writing songs? Is it lyrics first? I always talk about with that with artists. Is it music first or lyrics first? How does that come together for you?
um, it's different every time because I'm not the kind of person that always has to sit down and write. Like I could be driving in my car and see something. There was one song I wrote where I saw like a billboard or something that said "Put a little love in your heart," and I was
Hmm.
that's the line, and the song came from that. Um, but I listen to a lot of like just random like beats on YouTube. I'm always just like searching for different melodies, different ideas. Um, so that's like one way I do it. And then there's other times where if I'm going through like a breakup or a real feeling that makes sense that I need to get out,
Yeah.
then I'll sit down and the lyrics will just kind of flow out. But it's always a different experience every time. It just depends on where the inspiration comes from.
It's funny how a breakup can inspire great music. And some of the best songs come not I mean the love songs do work too when things are working, but
Right.
something about it's got an edge to it. You're really pouring a lot of, energy, redirecting it into something creative, I'm sure. So that's do you have anything like that coming out on your EP?
Um, a few of them, yes, definitely. Uh, it was a project that was specifically about one person and one relationship. But you can kind of apply it. I mean, I know I can apply it to multiple
Sure.
in
Sure.
my life. But I think that's the beauty of music is like you could have experienced it with one person, but it could be a friend or a significant other, whatever it may be. It makes sense to you, then use it however you need to let that feeling out. But yes, definitely a few, I wouldn't say like heartbreaks, but ending of feelings
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, you know, it's a feeling you don't want to have, but it's nice to be able to channel it somewhere. And you know, who knows? It could end up giving you a Grammy one day. It's like, yeah, it's like you
Oh,
get a hit song out of that.
that would be amazing. That would be
I'm
amazing.
not giving you any percentages of that of the sales. You aren't getting a dime, but you did inspire this.
Definitely.
That's great. So on your YouTube channel, you got covers of some songs. What inspired you to do that to cover out? There's one called Oceans. What particularly spoke to you about covering some of these songs?
Um, I think, and especially that one, it when it evokes an emotion or a feeling out of me, it makes me want to put my spin on it. I don't like covering necessarily things that don't connect. Like
Yeah,
that's what music is to me. Is like, and obviously there's music out there that's just like happy and kind of surface level. Um, but when I decide to cover something or put it out in the world, it needs to make sense to my story and to have that feeling behind it. Because without feeling an emotion, it's just music.
yeah,
It's just a sound, and that's how I feel. So, so yeah. So those songs, oceans in particular, just I think more the melody and the song itself connects to me. I just that.
yeah. Yeah, it's really emotional. So yeah, everybody check out this YouTube channel. You got a really cool trailer type thing that was produced. Who put that together? It's a like a 1 minute music video of you
Oh,
performing, and yeah, it's really nice. You
yeah.
know, beautifully shot and edited, which I could appreciate.
Yeah, that was that's actually one of the songs that'll be on the upcoming project. And that was performed at Novell, which is at Mohegan Sun,
Mhm.
in Connecticut. Um, but yeah, so that's just kind of a dive and a look into like a very short little snippet of the experience that you get out of being.
Yeah. I always see the tip jar. Always reminds me of Piano Man. Anybody who's doing piano can understand that the classic song. Put bread in my jar. I'm sure you could experience that. Always somehow Billy Joel always ends up in some discussion of mine, and I've had some people who work with him who've spoken with me, so that always happens. Um, do you have a name for your new EP, and we'll be able to find that once you have that released?
Yeah, so the project is called Butterflies Lie, which is also one of the singles that will be coming out as well. And it should be, like I said, within the next month or two, kind of wrapping everything up. Um, and hopefully a single at a time. It'll by the end of the year we'll have the whole thing out in the world. So,
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, you got some of the tracks like Karma, Family Stranger. You got some really interesting titles there that kind of rope you in.
I try to, especially with like song titles, I try to make them like one word or short, just to kind of overview of what the song is, because I think it's you don't need to overcomplicate that part of it. Let
Yeah.
the let the song itself kind of speak for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be fantastic and we'll get to see that soon. And you're on all the socials, Instagram, YouTube, probably TikTok as well.
Yep, TikTok. I'm building it up. It's a new thing for me, but
Yeah.
that is the new age, right? TikTok is the future. Um,
Yeah, just putting up a snippet of what you do, maybe do something cutesy with it, and that gets attention. Always put like a cat into something. Somehow that gets you always get numbers off of that. I think that's how it works. Yeah, you great voice. Did you teachers, did you have a vocal coach or basically you're listening to somebody like Adele and it's like, I'm gonna strive to hit those kind of notes.
Yeah. Like I said, I've always been singing. My mom has videos of me literally standing in front of like the TV, singing to all the Disney
Oh,
princess movies.
cute.
Barney was my favorite. I don't know if anyone out there remembers Barney, but um,
Yeah, my daughter was a fan. She caught Barney and then the Wiggles were kind of rising and they're like right behind them. She saw Barney. I had to take her to a Barney show one time and the Wiggles played like their intermission. So yeah, she was a Barney kid,
yeah,
definitely.
that's where it started. Um, and yeah, I did have vocal coaches, I guess, like one in particular along the way. Um, and I took chorus and
Oh,
I did musical theater. So I always have had guidance, but I truly believe where I found my voice um, was when I started actually performing. Like when I worked for Carnival, I really explored things on my
yeah.
own. And like you were saying, like you listen to other artists and you kind of try to emulate, but then you're like, okay, like I like what they did there. Let me put my personal spin on it and kind of make it my own. Because I think that's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need someone to be like, this is how you hit this note, and this is how you do that. Obviously, that's important. I'm not putting, learning how the proper techniques, how to sing is important. Um, but you also have to find your own voice. And I think that's something I like to tell any young kid or future musician to find what makes sense to you and find it yourself. Don't ever let someone tell you how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's you derive off of others and you take a nugget here or there and it becomes you. So that's how you have your unique sound. So that's incredibly important. Yeah. Getting around New England, you drive everywhere. Do you take all your equipment with you? How does that work when you go from venue to venue?
It's
I'm
all,
sure you're doing it all, I'm sure. It's not like
it's
you have an entourage.
yeah, it's an experience. Some shows they have the equipment there, which those are always like a blessing. But most of the time, yeah, I'm carrying in my little Nissan Rogue. I've got a full rig. I actually do have a friend that I have hired as my roadie.
Yeah,
So
you
he
need
helps
somebody.
like he helps setting
That's good.
point. I'm like, all right, like I'm this tiny little thing. Like I can do some heavy lifting, but my job is to show up and do the performing. Um, and you can't do any type of job without help or without a team.
Yeah.
So there has been amazing.
It's
But
yeah,
yeah,
important to have at least your one roadie.
yeah. But yeah, I carry everything wherever I go. So
Yeah, I always think about that. I'm like, well, if you're performing so much, you're doing 6 nights in that region, and you're doing Connecticut all the way up to Maine sometimes, and aren't this is quite a trek. I mean,
gone all the way up to Vermont before too. So
Vermont.
yes,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And recently, I didn't drive, but I flew out to Texas for the first time and
Oh,
played out
wow.
there, which was super
I'm
cool.
sure. Well, it's good to get out of that region and yeah, and try to break out and experience different type of audiences. So, which you probably did. How did you get into Carnival?
Um, I don't know if it was me or my mom or someone showed me there was like auditions in Boston, and yeah, I just took the leap, did it. Uh, I ended up getting the gig, obviously, and to be honest, like the rest is history. Like once I did that, like I said, it sparked that okay, music makes sense again. Because I kind of did, I wouldn't say I gave up on it, but I started to feel like maybe I needed to settle for what my parents and my family wanted and get a real job.
Sure.
I think that was a blessing in disguise getting that job because it helped me rediscover myself in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and having a steady paycheck and a gig and all of that is great. What type of cruises did you go on?
Primarily just the Caribbean, um, but it was one of the coolest things. And I always tell people, like, if you ever get an opportunity to travel or um, like if you're just out of college, you're single, you want to experience something, like do it. It's I met people from all around the world that I still am friends with. Some of my closest friends now, like my best friends, are from that experience. Um, but you just kind of see the world from a different perspective. It kind of eliminates responsibility, and you're just like, life is so cool. I know.
Yeah, great experience. Yeah. So did you go to college in New England?
Yes, I went UMass Amherst, so Western.
Good. And just you got done in under 4 years. How did that go?
Yeah, I did it. I survived.
I know. It's like I'm sure that like, it doesn't really mix because you knew what you wanted to do. So it's like, what do I major in? Should I major in something where I could fall back on it or just like really go all in and just, focus on music?
I ended up getting a degree in sociology with a minor in education because I've always been like very good at teaching. I've taught swim lessons. Um, I've taught voice lessons at points along my life, but I always was like good with kids. So I was like, all right, like
Yeah.
this makes sense. It makes sense for me. Um, but going into college, I really was kind of lost, which I
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily suggest anyone to go into school not knowing. I wish I had taken a little bit of time because again, I felt like I was doing things for other people.
Yeah.
So I just kind of kept going, and then like end of sophomore year, and I was like, "What's my major? Like, what do I do now?"
Yeah, that's hard when you're so young. And it's like, I don't know when I would do this is the rest of my life. I don't know. Maybe it is true because maybe a gap year is a good thing. And just you kind of go out there and figure it out, and then you could decide. I mean, you got so many years ahead of you. So, like, what's 1 year?
Especially with the rising costs of education,
Yeah,
so many kids are going into school just because out of high school, everyone does it, right? Um,
right. There's that pressure to just start. It's like I gotta go. I gotta be done by the time I'm 21. I gotta get out there. So, like, but you got time.
and you don't think about the amount of debt you're going to be in until
Yeah.
you're that part didn't really make sense to me until after. And I was like, I wish someone had been like, hey, maybe take a class at a community college, like see if there's something that, you know, makes more sense to you. Or, I mean, even my brother, he went to college for 2 years and then decided it wasn't for him. And now he's in a trade. He's a plumber. So I think a lot of people don't explore enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Education is very important, but you have to want it and you have to know what you want.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, you learn these things later on, and then you got to stop beating yourself up if you didn't take that path. But you could pick up the pieces, and just you got to learn as you go along. That's how it is. Yeah. Well, best wishes to you. And it was great. I was able to find you on Facebook, so keep the ads going. That's how people find you. And I was like, oh, you got on my radar. And I was like, and then I checked the music out, and it's just like this is what you hope to do. So, and we could find you on all those services, Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere else.
Yes, like I said, things will be coming out very soon. But definitely follow me on Instagram, Facebook. You can find me. I am Julia Chisolm. Um, TikTok, Facebook, I believe also YouTube. That would be my. But if you type in my name anywhere, you can find me, and then be on the lookout for me.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining me today. Take care.